Hey guys, Joe Brunsman here with some quick cyber lessons from the Twitter hack. Let's go through it and get you up to speed. So a little bit about the background here. Twitter accounts belonging to about 130 US persons, that includes celebrities, executives, lawmakers, were all compromised starting about last Wednesday. Now, ostensibly, this was a Bitcoin scam. I'll show you an example of that a little bit later on. And interestingly, this appears to have bypassed the two-factor authentication that is part of the Twitter process. So there is some speculation here that potentially there was an insider that was part of this hack, but as of right now, I believe that's still unverified. So here's an example of one of those breached accounts. This was the infamous Elon Musk, and it says here, "I'm giving back to the community. All Bitcoin sent to the address below will be sent back doubled. If you send $1,000, I'll send back $2,000. Only doing this for 30 minutes. There's a long string of characters there. That is the Bitcoin wallet address, followed up shortly by just sent out $45,000. Now, this may seem ridiculous that somebody would actually fall for this, but this happened across people who have, combined probably tens of millions or hundreds of millions of users. So invariably, someone's going to get caught up in that. It looks like right now, I think that the best total I saw was something like 117,000 US dollars equivalent in Bitcoin was actually sent out to this address here and stolen. So from this, we can either assume that the hackers are really stupid or they're actually really smart. So Brian Krebs, who's one of the world's preeminent security researchers and journalists, said this could have actually been perpetrated by a group of young SIM swappers. And I'm not going to get into exactly what a SIM swapper is, but potentially the head of this organization is actually a 21-year-old UK man. Why is this kind of dumb? It's because, well, Bitcoin can be traced. It's kind of built into the process there. So, if this money could ever be spent or not is really up for question, which really then begs the question, hey, this could have actually been ideologically driven. So maybe there was some other motivation behind this, and that Bitcoin scam was just a way to warn the community or warn Twitter that they're actually inside of their organization and they just didn't know it. Here's an example. So this was actually a screenshot from a Twitter account that was supposedly linked, I believe according to Brian Krebs, potentially to this attack. And you'll see that he was actually showing around some of the admin tools involved with Twitter. So Jack Dorsey might have some splaining to do here, because I'm pretty sure that he actually told Congress there was no such thing as a blacklist or any sort of shadow banning on Twitter. But at least here, this appears to be allegedly the administrative tools used by somebody inside of Twitter. And you can see that it's got bounced, inactive, protected, compromised, trends blacklist, search blacklist, and read only. Would really love for Jack at Twitter to go back in front of Congress under oath and actually explain what these terms mean, so that those of us who are less technologically inclined can understand what exactly Twitter is doing with the accounts of people on their site. So let's wrap this up by saying, what are the lessons that businesses should actually learn from the Twitter hack? So number one, Twitter is going to take a big hit. People are scared. They don't know what information got compromised. So if your business got hit, you can expect that clients are going to be concerned. Potentially they're going to leave. So a big hit in terms of publicity as well as potential revenue, where Twitter's going to have an issue there. Next thing, nothing electronic is ever secure. What's interesting about the English language is that a lot of what we talk about kind of in daily conversation, there's a lot of inflection there that doesn't necessarily translate very well to a very simple text message. So for example, if somebody said, hey, you're really stupid, that's really different than, you're really stupid. almost the same identical language there, but very, very different meanings at the end of the day on what that information means. So something that you may think is benign could actually end up being construed as not being so benign. So remember, nothing electronic is ever secure. Have a breach response plan. So hopefully Twitter had some sort of plan in place to deal with an issue like this. Eventually your business is going to be breached. So make sure you've already planned ahead for kind of the general steps you're going to take there when that occurs. Inside of your cyber insurance policy, hopefully you have one, see if it includes crisis management and business interruption costs. So I'm not sure yet exactly how much money Twitter has lost during this endeavor and is going to lose over the course of the next few months. But I would imagine it's going to be pretty sizable as people, at least think inside of their heads, hey, I don't know if this information that we're sending back and forth is secure. So that could be journalists going back and forth with confidential sources for information. It could be people potentially sending compromising information or pictures over Twitter DMs. All of these things, they could be published. So crisis management, business interruption, big deal for you. And then finally, never send something you don't want your grandmother to see. Kind of a good general rule in life, don't send an email, don't send a text message, any type of electronic communication that you don't want your grandmother to see. Kind of a very good basic rule and good business practice for you. And finally, what policies do you actually have in place for your employees? What can they send over Twitter? Who can they communicate with? Are they using a personal device or are they using a business device? All things that you really need to keep in mind. With that, stay safe.